fastest man alive. It's our wells of many names and faces, Tom Kavanagh. What's cooler than being cool? Killer Frost and Caitlin Snow too. And he plays the stretchiest detective alive, Ralph Dibney, Hartley Sawyer. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. So, Eric, to kick us off, let's talk about that amazing trailer that we just saw. Ramsey Rosso is a name that will be familiar to the comic book nerds in the room, but for those who may not have heard of him and his villainous alter ego Bloodwork, what do we need to know about him? What
Ramsey Rosso, played by the wonderful Sendil Ramamurthy, who's that's in my hand. He is an acquaintance of the lovely Dr. Caitlin Snow. However, their old reunion goes very, very south, and when he joins Team Flash, he ends up going down the dark path to mad science and maybe becomes the most terrifying foe that Team Flash has ever faced.
Well, that's a good segue. How is he different from some of the villains that Team Flash has faced before, would you say?
The other villains played by the rules a lot of times. Reverse Flash, who I love, Tom, of course, and Sue and Savitar. But there's a unique relationship between Dr. Ramsey and Barry himself. They're both facing something horrible as Crisis approaches, and that is going to make the relationship between our villain this season and our hero this season very, very different than what we've seen in the past. It's going to be great.
I like it. Well, how is season 6 as a whole different from the seasons that we've had before?
We're doing something really different this season. We're lucky enough to have gotten to the 6th season because of all of you, and I thank you. So, in doing so, we figured let's kick it up a notch. In the past, we've had 22 episodes with one big bad.
This year we're doing 60 episodes.
No. Maybe you are. But we're going to take those 22 episodes and we're going to have what I'm calling, because I'm a comic book guy like a lot of people here, we're going to divide it up into 2 graphic novels. Graphic novel number 1 will be in the first half of the season, a self-contained story with Dr. Ramsey turning into Bloodwork. We go to Crisis for an interlude, and then in the back half, a completely self-contained story. That's graphic novel number 2 with a second big bad.
And we're not allowed to ask about the second big bad, right?
No.
You guys have to wait and see.
Tune in.
Tune in. Well, the interesting thing that you kind of see in the trailer is that Dr. Rosa says that he's exploring a cure for death, no one has to die, and obviously Barry and Iris are dealing with a death themselves, the loss of Nora. So does that kind of create a connection or kind of common ground between them that we haven't seen before? I don't know, Grant and Candace. Between Dr. Rosa and Barry?
I don't know that that's necessarily, I think it's more, the Monitor shows up at the end of our first episode and says, you know, the universe is in danger and the only way to save it is for Barry Allen to sacrifice himself. So I think kind of our connection is more our impending demise.
No big deal, the Flash is supposed to die. It's great, we all like that. We don't want to have more seasons.
They can keep making the show without me.
No, guys, right?
They could.
No.
But would not want to.
Nor would I want you to.
Well, Carlos, let's start with you since you're sort of close to me. It'll be a gentle question, I promise. How is Cisco adjusting to life without his powers?
swimmingly.
Yeah?
Yeah, he is loving it. At the start of season 6, we find Cisco pretty much finding the normality that he was aching for in season 5. You know, obviously there were some bumps in the road in terms of his figuring out what it was that he wanted, was sort of how he didn't feel complete. And obviously he made a very difficult decision to take that cure. And so we'll see at the top of season 6, like the rewards that he's reaping in terms of like being able to balance his work life and his personal life, because I feel like that's something that was really big for him. And so now he's got this relationship with Camilla that he's working on, and then, you know, obviously the Star Labs thing or whatever.
Well, how does he fit into Star Labs now? What's the kind of team dynamic?
You know, he's lending his human powers, not, you know, since he doesn't have his metahuman powers now, he's lending his, you know, his expertise in virtually all things.
Yeah.
He's kind of an impossible character, actually. He's like a hacker. He also like sews, like a, you know what I mean? Like, he can do anything. So pretty much more of that anything doing is what he's going to be doing.
That's good. I like it. I like it. Candice, we saw Iris. Yes. Give it up again. We saw Iris refocusing her efforts and her kind of focus towards journalism last season. So how are we going to see that evolve this season?
A lot more this season, which I'm really excited about. I feel like it's been a long time coming.
Definitely.
Yeah, 6 years is a long time. But Eric is really excited about it. I feel like he loves this character as much as I do. I think he wants to see it as much as I do. We're finally going to see the Iris West Allen that we know from the comics. This ace reporter, she's building up the Citizen. This season we're going to see her hire some new employees. It's going to be its own little contained set with its own storylines. I'm really excited about it. I didn't want this show to ever end without us seeing the iconic Iris West that we know and love from the comic book. So I'm really eager to get into that.
Well, tell us more about the Citizen and some of these employees and people who will be kind of surrounding her this year.
What can I say? Eric, you go.
Let's just say her new employees will appear very soon.
Very soon. Also, we know that Camilla kind of works for Iris. So we'll see a lot more Camilla in the office. Disney's down the hall.
We're neighbors.
There's going to be a lot of Team Flash popping by the office. It's really cool. We started to shoot scenes in there. It just feels right. Yeah. It feels real right. I'm really excited about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so great. What can you both, Grant and Candice, say about Iris and Barry's relationship this season? Because obviously, having gone through this trauma, they must both be reeling. How do they deal with that as a couple and individually?
It does. I think we're both kind of on dealing with it in different ways when we come back. We're kind of on our own islands, I think, dealing with it in our own way. And Barry is kind of doing what he always does and pushes it to the side, kind of tries to, no pun intended, bury it. And it's just focusing on the good that he can do. Are you leaving? I can't. So yeah, Barry is trying to distract himself of what he can do to help, for how he can help the team, how he can help the city. And then I think Iris is kind of the one that, you know...
Tell us, Candice. You tell us.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we need to be on the same page.
Yeah, very early on in the season, it picks up almost 10 seconds after the finale of last season. So it's still very fresh and raw, the grief that Barry and Iris are going through, and they're trying to move past it. But I think we see very early on in episode 1 that maybe they're not dealing with it in the best of ways, and that they come together and realize that they really have to look at this and grieve as a team, as a couple, as a married couple. It's the only way they're going to get through it and move forward and get back to being Team Flash.
Yeah, I take it. That's great. So Grant, obviously you kind of gave a hint of it with the Monitor coming and visiting Barry, but dealing with a new villain, dealing with this impending crisis. How much is it weighing on him, especially when he discovers, obviously, the newspaper date changed, as we saw in the finale?
Yeah, it's weighing pretty heavily on him. Again, I think Iris is the person that he kind of finds his strength in. She's pretty steadfast and like saying, you know, we can do this. Like we can get through everything else. We can get through this. So I think that's kind of where he finds his strength and believing that like whatever the next step is, we'll be able to handle it. But yeah, it's tough hearing no matter what happens, you're supposed to vanish. I think that's hard for both of them to swallow.
Yeah. These guys, they can't catch a break. It's really hard.
No.
I know that makes it a TV show, but it's still very hard.
Okay. Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
I hear that we're meeting a new Wells this year. What can you tell us about?
Should we have a new Wells? Come up with something in a hurry. Yeah. Okay.
I'm on it.
Nothing we can do. It's easy. We can do that. Yes. Go on.
Yes.
Back to the question.
That is the question. What can you tell us about it? What do we need to know about this new version?
I think this newest edition of Wells will be bit of a what was the word? Sensual. What was the word?
Sensual.
I'm making them say it. What is it, guys?
Sensual.
Thank you.
But you have to say it like...
He'll be a bit of an adventurer, swashbuckler, live a life of intrigue, deceit, and what is it?
Sensuality.
Sensuality.
Get them to say sensual or sensuality more than 10 times. A lot.
We should have
Sensuality.
What is it?
Sensual.
What is it?
He's sensual.
Sorry? Thank you. Thank you.
Cool.
Who knew that was going to happen when the day broke, right?
I'm both horrified and excited.
Yes, it's horrifying and exciting.
No
Kind
accent.
of like all the Wells characters.
Yes.
Think about it.
No accent this
Horrifying
time around.
exciting.
No accent this time around.
I promise nothing. You guys have to watch the show and see what happens.
means
We're
he's doing
kind
an
of like a winging it as we go.
He's gonna do an accent.
I'm not going to do an accent. Maybe it'll be like me.
It'll be like this. You'll just have to tune in.
Please do it just like that.
Thank you very much, Laura. I appreciate that.
You have my
Show
support,
canceled.
if nothing else. Danielle, what can we expect? Yes. What can we expect for both Caitlin and Killer Frost this year?
Killer Frost. I'm really excited. I feel like last season was such a great season of really exploring Caitlin and Killer Frost's relationship, and I think this year we've really set it up to see a lot more of Killer Frost. So we're going to get to see Killer Frost in Star Labs and how helpful or not she is. We're going to see, you know, her get out a little bit and try and live a life and see how that goes.
I like that.
Thanks, me too.
Yeah, that sounds fun. All right. Hartley,
Oh no.
Don't pander to heart.
Please pander.
Giraffe, right? A round of applause for Baby Giraffe.
Baby giraffe.
That's pander. Baby Giraffe. Bye-bye.
the season 5 finale saw Ralph picking up a case named Devon, which should be familiar to some comic book fans.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the case that he's working on and the person at the center of that case in this season?
Well, we're going to pick up and Ralph is going to be having investigated that file a little bit, and we're going to follow his journey on what will eventually lead us to Sue and see what happens. I don't know how much I can say about this.
That's it.
Yeah, I think I said it, right?
That's literally it.
Yeah.
That's all you got. But I hear that.
Maybe not just playing Sue.
But I hear that we're also going to learn a bit more about his personal life in general. There might be some other people close to him.
Yeah, we're going to dig into his family a little bit and where he came from and why he is the way he is. Which is a whole can of worms in and of itself anyway. But we're going to get into that. I'm really excited for that.
That sounds nice. I like it. That's good. So Eric Thorne escaped at the end of last season. Are we going to see him again anytime soon? What's the deal? What's the status on it?
Well, Thawne is in the wind. We love him. Not sure if we'll see him immediately, but
He casts a very long shadow.
Right.
And nobody knows when that shadow is going to appear or not.
That's accurate.
We've got other stories to tell until the shadow returns. You're not scared?
No, I don't.
That's just acting.
Yeah, I was.
You're such a good actor.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
I think you have your answer.
Yes.
Yes.
But I hear that both Thorn and sexy, sensual Wells are not the only.
Let's not overdo it. Well, I'm going to be the guy playing it, so there's only so far.
Sensual, not sexy Wells, just sensual. But I hear that they're not the only characters that Tom might be playing this season.
Go, Eric.
No, they're not. As part of, and I guess it's time to reveal it, as part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, not only will Tom be playing the two characters that we've heard here, but he will also be playing Pariah as part of the crossover. Who's Pariah?
Who's Pariah?
You know, he works for the Anti-Monitor, you know. He's like got the green cape, got the powers, you know, the funky hair. Right?
Yeah.
He's like totally
You
cool.
know, the guy with the cape and the powers.
Did you not?
He's dangerous.
He's got the powers and that does stuff, you know. Cape.
Yeah. So watch, mind your P's and Q's.
All right.
That's right.
Who is
Joanne.
Pariah, and how does he tie into the Crisis? As a bit of background for people who may not know.
Just so that folks who don't know, in the original miniseries, it's Pariah who is very much integral to unleashing the Anti-Monitor onto our multiverse, which then more bad things happen. So for Tom to play such a pivotal character, it not only is exciting, but I think his interpretation that he's going to be bringing to it is going to just tear your guts out, you know, and make you cry. Don't set too high a bar, you know? I have faith in you.
And I have faith in you.
Aww. But it's going to be good.
Why Tom, honestly? Like, he's playing, I mean,
You guys hear that? Why Tom? I believe she's saying, is that why Tom?
I think she's your
That's
biggest
trending
fan.
on Twitter already. Why Tom? That's
I've been saying that for years. Why, Tom?
I had the same question.
Well, there is actually a reason.
very definition of piling on. This is going south of town.
That's the reason.
yeah, what?
Thank you, because it's sensual.
The reason is not because he is sensual.
My mom.
We can't have too much sensuality. Yeah, we got one.
No, the secrets of why Tom becomes Pariah are actually part of graphic novel #1, and all lead up to a very, very big twist at the end of the Blood Work case that launches Crisis.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's fine. Yeah. For all of the cast, does the season, you kind of get a sense of it in the trailer, you know, you've got blood dripping over the logo, it all looks very spooky. Does it feel creepier or darker? Is there kind of a shift in tone that you guys have noticed as you've been playing it, or is it?
Oh yes, without
The
question.
cast.
Yes.
Cast, what is the cast?
As I've been talking to the cast, I always use the same thing, and I say, this is the season of thrills and chills. And I always say chill with air quotes.
It has felt like so far, I've read 3 episodes thus far, so I don't know too far beyond that. But it does feel like more adult already, like grown up in a way. It feels like the show is kind of matured almost, I don't know. So I can feel it getting darker. I can feel us going down that road this year for sure.
But still keeping the humor that we all know.
Of course. We're still Flash.
Yeah, we're still the Flash. It's not a total course correct or anything because it wasn't broken.
No, it wasn't. It's beautiful. We love it. We love it very much. So I think that we can start doing fan questions very soon. If you guys would like to start
I mean, if anyone has it.
lining up. In the meantime, Eric, we haven't seen Wally for a while, and obviously, and we haven't talked about Joe, who's also here. So what can we kind of tease for the wider West family and what we'll see in this coming season?
I would say, let's bring Wally West back.
I've been saying that.
That seems cool with them, so why don't we do it this season? A couple of episodes. episodes and have Kid Flash and Flash fight one of the greatest Flash villains ever.
I'm down.
Tune in.
Who? Let's go to some fan questions. Where are you? Yes.
Nice.
Hi, so my question is, how was it for Grant and Danielle, and are you going to revisit the kisses between Barry and Caitlin, like with Hannibal Bates and with Killer Frost?
What do we mean by revisit? Like I don't.
Like no one told anyone. Are we gonna?
Oh, like it's gotcha. Gotcha. We'll probably keep that between us.
Yeah, it's probably the best. He's
Between
happy.
Hannibal Bates and Caitlin. Barry probably doesn't even know that happened.
You're right, he probably doesn't.
Yeah.
We should try and kill
Good
him.
question. Thanks, bro. It's my prop. I have to take it back to Vancouver.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about your new suit. Let's talk about your new suit. Sorry, we'll get to you right next.
It's not too far from what we did last year. I thought was awesome. We had some struggles with the cowl because it was our first time trying to do this type of suit. We built off of what we did last year, and for the first time since we started the show, we actually redid the cowl entirely. So it's definitely the closest it's ever been to looking like the suit from the comics. Yeah. And one step closer to being there. Yo, it's pretty dang cool, yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. I want to see this sewing machine someday. This was incredible sewing machine.
Next question. I'm sorry I cut you off on the one.
Hey.
Hi.
What's up?
What's up? My question is for Grant and Candace. I was wondering what it was like filming the scene in episode 19 when Barry sent Nora to the future and they had that argument in the pipeline.
Was it the big fight?
Yeah.
I had fun.
It was real fun.
It was. It was Jeff Cassidy directing, he long ago was a camera assistant on our show and part of the family. So he was really pumped about getting to do that scene. We were really pumped about it. We had never fought like that, obviously, on the show. So it was, or in real life for that matter. But it was fun.
Yeah, we just never have really seen Barry and Iris hash it out, really go at each other and lay it all on the table. And so I think for us as actors, it was just let's do this.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was one of my favorite moments of last season for sure.
Nice, thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Brooke.
You look great.
You got it. You got this.
I'm sending you the biggest hug. I'm right there with you. I believe in you.
I wanted to ask you, Danielle, is there anything you find extraordinary that someone else might just find ordinary?
I think you're extraordinary. It clearly took a lot of bravery to stand up here, and I think you're extraordinary. And everybody who takes the chance, that's extraordinary.
Go for it.
Okay, huge fan of you guys, of course. My name's Austin. I actually have a Flash tattoo right here.
Me too.
Fire.
So, this one's for Grant specifically. How have you incorporated characteristics of being the Flash or Barry Allen into your own life?
Especially early on, Barry's optimism was really inspiring to me. He's gone down some dark roads since I first met him and has, tried his best to pull himself up out of that. And I think he's kind of helped me try to be more of an optimistic person, just because I guess I didn't always, wasn't that type of person growing up. It's easy for me to see, the bad side of things and get, worried about stuff, So I feel like Barry's optimism has kind of helped me be more like that in my life.
GL.
Yes.
Hi, what's up, Team Flash?
Good to see you, Al.
Nice to meet you. It's Kyle, actually.
Oh, sorry, bro.
I'm Gideon, like the Gideon from the Time Vault. And my question is, do you believe that the Green Lantern will make a great addition to the Arrowverse? And if so, when?
It's not a loaded question at all.
I've always thought Green Lantern is such a cool character to see in our world. I mean, I don't know when. That's an Eric question.
I think the desire to bring the Green Lantern into the Arrowverse is great. Unfortunately, I have no idea when something like that might happen, but let's all keep trying.
Yeah, put it
Great idea, and I love your costume.
Yeah, you look
love
dope.
it.
Great.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Beautiful. Studs, completely. Alright, so my question, this is for Grant specifically. I've been such a fan since Glee days.
Oh, cool, man.
My question is, from comparing your experience now as a main, very influential character that's impacted my life growing up throughout high school and many others, compared to your role back in Glee, which was still an amazing role, and I myself was very impacted by that too. But what's the difference between the scales?
I mean, for me, just the experiences, Glee, I had never been on any kind of TV or film set ever, and I was fresh off of, I'd done a year-long Broadway tour, and I was 5 days, removed from that when I was filming my first day of Glee. So it was just, I barely remember a lot of that process because it was such a whirlwind, and I was just trying to keep my feet on the ground and do the work, and I've really been able to grow throughout this Flash experience. I mean, it's really different being a series regular on something versus popping in and out to guest star every once in a while. I just remember needing to be with the desire to be there working all the time, and now, in Flash I love working, but I'm when can I take a nap? But they're pretty different experiences, and they've both been awesome though. I'm glad that you enjoyed both, man. That's cool.
Flash.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm a huge fan. I used to pull all-nighters watching the show. Once I just saw episode 1, I was hooked. This question's for Grant. Out of all the seasons so far, which suit was your favorite?
For sure, the one I'm in now. Last year, it was my favorite suit, but the cowl was kind of a struggle. It was didn't look exactly how I wanted it to look, and it was just some learning curves there, and it was some comfort issues. But is pretty much last year's suit with some tweaks this year, and it's what I loved my first suit too, that Colleen Atwood designed. I thought it was cool and urban and vintage looking, and a cool suit to start with. But what we have now is it's really close to what's on the comic book page. I love it. Yeah. You'll see.
Wait a minute.
Hi, I'm Chris. I just wanted to know, Danielle, will you be directing again this season?
I will. I'm very excited.